Hi, this is Sean,
Hey, this is Isaac.
and this channel's called Wolf Dog Moon. And today we're going to be doing a kind of thought experiment discussion. So you're welcome to join in on in the comments and let us know what you think and what your opinions are. And just keep it fun and friendly if you can. And if you like this kind of content, like wrestling, video games, that kind of thing, then smash that like button, give us a subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on our next video. And like I said, comment down below and share this with your friends. All right, let's get into this. All right, so this thought experiment type discussion. How we're going to do these is the essential concept is that we got these two wrestlers here. We're using these wrestling figures to stand in for these two wrestlers. We're using the Mattel WWE action figures that they sell, and we've also done a video on our channel that you can check out where we have all the figures, and we did a review on them in a discussion. So check that out, and all right, let's get into this. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of book the match between two wrestlers, and in this case we have Brock Lesnar and we have the Ultimate Warrior. Now, obviously we have two wrestlers from Brock Lesnar's in the current WWE iteration, and he's primarily a kind of pseudo legend status. He comes and goes. He's not on every single episode of Raw, for example, and he might not be at every single pay-per-view. So he's kind of like a special class of wrestler. And then you have the Ultimate Warrior from the the end of the Hulkamania era, and where they tried to go with the Ultimate Warrior. So you have two wrestlers that never faced off and never would. So we're trying to kind of simulate that in a sense with these two wrestlers. So now some people already, I'm just going to cut to the chase as far as how I would book this match. Now, before that, I just want to give you my opinions on what these two wrestlers represent in terms of how not only their status as wrestlers, but also how you would have to book them. So I'm going to start with the Ultimate Warrior. Now, the Ultimate Warrior, I put him in a special category similar to someone like The Undertaker. Okay, The Undertaker he's a supernatural force. So he has his gimmick comes from the supernatural, and so you're not only facing a very powerful, strong warrior type man, he's also imbued with supernatural abilities. And so from that perspective, that's how I also see Ultimate Warrior. His gimmick is he's meant to be the Ultimate Warrior. He gets his power from the universe, from this other spiritual realm. And in his promos, that's the way that he comes across. He's from all his little warriors, and he gets it from the fans. He gets his energy and from this spirit, from the spiritual place. And so that's the category that I put the Ultimate Warrior in. And now Brock Lesnar, okay, he is a collegiate wrestler, so he was a great collegiate wrestler, the not pro wrestling but the amateur style wrestling. And then he also, after he was in the WWE at the tail end of the Attitude Era, and then he went off to do MMA, and then he's come back to the WWE. And so now he has this MMA type pedigree. And right off the bat, I just want to make it clear that in the wrestling business is different than the sports business. Okay, so you have sports athletes, and then you have the wrestlers athletes. But with the wrestlers, there is a narrative that's linked, and there's storylines that are linked not only to their personas, but how you book the matches, and also how the character develops over time, and his wins and losses. And then in the professional sports athlete, you have, it's essentially attempts to be a contest where there's rules and referees, and there's supposed to be a legitimate outcome. It's not dictated by storylines or carefully orchestrated events, where wrestling is all about carefully orchestrated events, and it's also about suspension of disbelief. And so you not only do you have to ground your abstractions in terms of everything has to make sense logically. Once you establish these certain characters, you have to follow through on it. So what I would say with the Brock Lesnar character, sometimes the MMA bleeds into wrestling in a negative way. For example, once he's in wrestling in WWE, the MMA is just an aspect to his gimmick. And there have been many guys throughout wrestling history that were not only amateur wrestlers in college and stuff, and national champions. You have like the Steiner brothers; they were, champions at wrestling, the amateur style. And then you had people like Bobby Lashley, and you had even other guys before that who were, in like either football, or they were in other what's considered pro sports. So, but once they step into a squared circle, once they're in wrestling, the pro wrestling, that's just an aspect of their character. In other words, with the Brock Lesnar guy, one of the things they get wrong is that, okay, because he's done real fighting, okay, they act like he's a real fighter, then he would beat all these guys. But that's not the case with wrestling. Wrestling is a business, and it also has a long history that goes back probably hundreds of years. Like in the carnivals, the old carnies, there was wrestling. Okay, so you have to put aside in most ways that he did MMA. Okay, so Vince McMahon, for example, he knows this. He knows that, okay, so he did this MMA. That's great. We can sell that. But at the same time, we still have to present him as a character in the WWE. And so what they did in order to elevate him to a higher status, to the point where he could eventually get eclipsed by Roman Reigns, they had him beat The Undertaker, who is a supernatural force. But it's The Undertaker at the end of his career, when he's ready to hang up, the boots. And so these two, getting back to these two action figures, not to get too long-winded, we have, and Isaac, you can chime in at any point, but we're going to have these two guys face off. And the way that I would book this match is, to me, it's a no-brainer. The Ultimate Warrior goes over. These two guys fight. Brock Lesnar essentially becomes a heel, and although he sort of acts like, okay, he might act like he's an MMA fighter and sell that, but now he's facing the Ultimate Warrior, and in doing so, he is going to be afraid at a certain point, because his blows aren't doing what maybe he thinks they should have done. And so at one point in the match, and you see this a lot if you go back and watch a lot of Ultimate Warriors matches, at a certain point, for example, he no-sells a finisher, or he no-sells a move that should be devastating, and it could be like Rick Rude's finisher, and he's posing to the crowd because he knows he's going to win because he did his finisher, but behind him the crowd's going crazy because the Ultimate Warrior has stood up as if now he's a supernatural force. And so the match, how I would book this match, and I think this is the way that it would play out, is you would have Brock Lesnar doing all these moves and devastating the Ultimate Warrior, but at a certain point, Ultimate Warrior stands up, no-sells the moves, and now Brock Lesnar's scared. He's acting like he's freaked out. He's cowering, not cowering, but he falls near the turnbuckles and is like putting his hands up, don't come near me kind of thing. And also, I would have him, he starts cheating. Brock Lesnar tries to cheat to win at that point. But in the end, it's not enough. The Ultimate Warrior does his, he slams Brock Lesnar. He does the splash. 1, 2, 3, clean. So that's how I would book the match. And I think that's how it would go down. So what do you think, Isaac? What's your opinion on it? Who do you think would win this match right here?
Well, it would be like the hero over on the
So you have you see Ultimate Warrior as the hero, right? And then Brock Lesnar, and it could either iteration of Brock Lesnar. So if we're talking about the current one where he's beaten and ended Undertaker's streak, or you go back to the Brock Lesnar where he did the didn't he do like a moonsault or whatever off the top rope? Was that him? Was that Brock Lesnar? I missed the Brock Lesnar era because I was watching WCW, but and I don't think he was there very long in WWE. Was it WWE at that time?
Yeah, I think it was.
So he wasn't there that long. So let us know down in the comments what you think. But for me, this one's an easy one to book. Ultimate Warrior goes over, and he goes over clean. 1, 2, 3. And like I said, Brock Lesnar, he's a badass. He's coming in. He thinks he's very cocky. He's saying I'm a real fighter or whatever stupid stuff. Remember, that stuff doesn't matter. Once you come into the squared circle, now you're in wrestling, and that's one thing they've gotten wrong, in my opinion, over the last number of years, ever since Brock Lesnar came back. It's because he's MMA. First of all, the John Cena character, they finally needed to kind of, John Cena's going to go away to Hollywood and try to do movies, but every time John Cena would come back, he expected to get the belt and the strap back, and I think that was creating headaches for the company, and so they eventually needed a sort of almost supernatural character in order to beat John Cena, because they had booked John Cena. The way they booked him was that if you dropped a tank on his head, he would kick out of that. So they needed it's like almost supernatural force, but they don't have anybody on the roster other than like a Bray Wyatt or something. And so Brock Lesnar fit the bill. He had gone to MMA, and so they could kind of leverage that to where now he beats the streak of the Undertaker, and then they had him kind of pulverize John Cena, and he just did one move against John Cena, and that made the difference. And then maybe John Cena thought that once he came back from Hollywood, or Hollyweird as I call it, he would be able to get the strap back and redeem himself, but it didn't work out that way because they were trying to head as quickly as they could to Roman Reigns, and in a lot of ways they tried to get to Roman Reigns too quickly, And so to backtrack, just to wrap this one up so it's not too long. And again, let's hear your opinions down below in the comments. This is just a thought experiment. Obviously these two guys have never faced off and never will, unfortunately. The Ultimate Warrior has passed away. It's really sad, and so plus you would have these guys facing off in their prime. They're completely, they're probably separated by 15 to 20 years at least. But it's a cool experiment, and I just wanted to kind of let you know how I see the wrestling business. I've watched wrestling all the way from the 70s all the way till now, and so I just wanted to give you my impression on how I would book this match. And we're going to be doing more of these, and so just stay tuned. And so if you like this kind of content, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. So we hope this video finds you having an amazing day, and we hope that you have a blessed day. Signing out.